We're going to talk about Channel 4's new 6-part comedy from Kirsty Swain. This is Pure, and Matt, since you're being an arse, you can walk us through this.
Thanks. So this focuses on the character of Marnie, who suffers from a form of OCD, which means she sort of fantasizes on seeing everyone naked, basically. That's what she obsesses over: naked bodies, genitalia, that sort of thing. After an incident at her parents' anniversary party, she moves to London in with an old school friend, and then tries to get some therapy, tries to understand why she's feeling how she's feeling. The therapist says, oh, maybe you're a lesbian. Have you ever been with a woman? And then that sets in course a chain of events where she meets a journalist and goes to sleep with her and meets her male roommate as well. And it ends with her drinking a lot of mouthwash and then being sick. I watched the first episode and a little bit of the second episode. Luke, how much did you watch?
I watched the first one as well.
Yeah.
It's all on Channel 4. It's on Wednesdays at 10. But if you're the kind of modern person that binges everything, it's there on all 4 for you to watch all 6. But I struggled with this because normally I say there's no character in something, and here Charlie Clive, who is a first-time performer in the lead as Marnie, she's fantastic, and it's very obvious.
Really good.
She's really, really good. The problem is she's in a story that I have very little interest in. It's not that I don't believe it, I just don't feel that the world is that interesting to me. I am in the minority in the same way that everybody's, Fleabag would have been another example of the show that everyone loves that I can't see the appeal of. I would compare this to that in that I know a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of TV people I respect have just been raving about this, and maybe it gets better in 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, but I just didn't feel as invested despite the really strong lead performance and obviously Kirsty Swain's voice in the writing as well. I don't think it's something I'll go back to because the world just didn't really interest me that much.
I didn't know whether I would like it, and Charlie Clive really is the big draw of it because she is terrific. It's very well made, those blink and you'll miss it snapshot sequences of sexual activity that, sort of punctuate every moment are really effective. And even at the point, it gets to a point later on where even when you don't see those snapshot moments, you can see she's thinking about them and you almost think about it in your own head. Or maybe that says more about me. I watched it live on Channel 4 and it kept going to the ad break and it said, Comedy on 4, sponsored by...
Nah.
That's when I thought, it's not a comedy.
Because it's a half hour, you have to say it's comedy, and it's not necessarily comedy. It's got funny bits and the characters are a bit OTT, but just because it's half hour doesn't mean it can't be a sort of drama of sorts. Because comedy, I think, already sets people on edge when they don't find something immediately funny. This isn't a comedy in the same way something like Car Share or This Country is a comedy. But because it's half hour, then we have to say it's comedy.
I would say that's where the struggle was for me, this sort of imbalance in tone. I would agree Charlie Clive is fantastic, but some of the sort of, there's clunky comedy lines that don't work for me, like when she first goes into the gay bar and, she's asked for ID and she says, is that to prove I'm a lesbian? That line didn't work for me. I liked the performance from Charlie Clive like you both did, but it put me in mind of, there was 2 programmes it put me in mind of. One was The Bisexual, which I know me and you talked about, Luke, last year, which was another sort of Channel 4 half hour that it had issues with its sort of tonal shifts. And the other one, which did this a lot better, was My Mad Fat Diary. Which was about a young woman struggling with mental health problems, had that comic edge, but also had very dark moments as well, and was allowed to be both, and didn't suffer from the imbalance of tone that I think this has got.
But I am going to watch more because it was interesting. It wasn't funny. I didn't think it was a comedy. It's not something I'd present to someone as saying, oh, hey, look at this comedy. But what was in there I found interesting enough to come back to, and especially as it's bingeable. it's something I probably will. Probably based just because Charlie Clive is very good in it. Very good.
It's all about that performance, isn't it? And you do have a pretty instant connection to her and that character. It's just, for me, the people around her weren't that interesting. And I always get a little bit, and I have been guilty of this in the past, I think we live in a bit of a media bubble, and I think this ticks a lot of boxes for the media types. You think, oh, this is really revolutionary and new and exciting. I don't know how the average viewer will take to this, because I don't think it's explained immediately what Charlie Clive's character Marnie is going through that succinctly to begin with.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because a lot of the feedback was saying something about her OCD, and I have had in the past OCD, but it isn't like, it's just the light switches and oven knobs kind of thing. So I didn't connect it with that, and I had to be told it was that. If there was a weakness, it was that wasn't communicated enough and effectively.
I think it's the obsession, isn't it, rather than the sort of, compulsive nature. That's why it's like the O, because she's obsessing over this, thing with the imagining everyone naked and things like that. And
I'm always conscious of judging things on their first episode, and I appreciate this was bingeable. It didn't leave me cold, but it got to the end and I was like, yeah, I don't know whether it's for me. And sometimes you gotta just say that things aren't for you. I didn't hate it by any sense. I just got to the end and didn't feel that compulsion to head on to Channel 4 All 4 and go, I've got to see more.
No, I didn't either, but it's something I'll watch. Definitely not when my wife's in, but some of those scenes where things are happening would not be for her, but I'll give it a go.
So pure on Channel 4 Wednesdays if you want to watch it linearly, and all bingeable now on All 4, either on smart TVs or on your phone app or wherever you get All 4, on the internet perhaps. I don't know.